Hi, good afternoon. This is Meredith Lego. Welcome to my channel. I focus on Ascension science and the expansion of consciousness. And today I'm going to share a message brought to you by Ascended Master Hilarion, who I've been able to connect with telepathically and essentially bring this message forward. And this wasn't a message where I had a question. Normally I have a question for him, but the information just started to flow. So let me share it. In your time space, there is no reality that does not serve you. For you see, all that you experience is that which your heart, which your soul, which your very divine being knows is the best path for learning, optimization, and growth. So go with the flow of the experiences and don't question the reality in which you face. You will learn, even if your ego does not accept the fact that this is a desirable experience to have. Your higher self learns and understands what experiences to have that either uplift or bring unity, or that create entropy to the system as a whole. Flow in the moment, flow with the energy that impulses you. That is how your higher self will communicate with you for that which will bring you the greatest learning and the greatest teachings for your higher evolution. Even now, as you watch the world unfold around you, you may scratch your head and wonder how this can be so. For you see, those who do not seem to be serving humanity, in fact, are. For they bring an upliftment of humanity to realize that which is no longer wanted or tolerated on the planet, lower frequencies. The planet and the humans on it yearn for higher frequency experiences. And it was in your reality that you were able to distinguish the difference between that which you don't want and that which you do want. This is what you call free will choice. Humanity has made the choice. There will be a period of strain as humanity moves towards this new paradigm. But do know that humanity has made this choice, and those in the universe rejoice with this new understanding and this calling forth. As your planet moves to a higher frequency, she will continue to shift. She will continue to brush off the old ways, the cobwebs. This will create consternation among the population. For you see, the earth will go through a period of rumbling and shaking during this time. But have hope, for you see that this change will in fact bring a new birthing of a higher frequency. And not just for you as entities on top of Earth, who are in fact the nerve endings of Gaia, but it will bring a new point for Gaia to expand her consciousness as well. For she too is an expanded being. She too is one with you. You are her, and she is you. Many of your minds may not understand this simple concept. You are one energy of one set of elemental beings. So when you cause harm to Gaia, in fact, you cause harm to yourself. You may not understand that. But fortunately, an awakening is happening on this planet in which many feel the change of the planet. They feel it in their very core, in their very DNA, for they truly are connected to Gaia, the flora and the fauna, and the many kingdoms of species. So take the time to develop that connection, for when Gaia does dust off her cobwebs, her trapped energy, those who are connected will know to seek higher ground. The animals are gifted at this intuition because of this connection. Reconnect with the unified field to serve yourself as humans, and in doing so, you serve the whole, for you learn how to serve the whole. And so that was the message. And so what I'm going to do now, which I usually do, is unpack a little bit. So I think the first several paragraphs were, I think, a continuation of lessons that he probably got into a bit more in probably the first 20 or so videos that I actually published on the channel. But it has to do with the fact that, oftentimes we choose to come into a certain incarnation and actually choose the path that we're going to be in well before we actually come into the incarnation. And so, part of it is sort of like you've chosen that to have that experience. But even when you're on the path, you have choices of what to think, what to feel, what to do on a daily basis. And what they're saying is that no matter what choice you go through, you're going to basically those experiences serve you, irregardless. So even if you've had a crappy day or a really bad experience, the experience still serves you and it serves the whole. So because we are all connected into sort of the source field or the unified field, that learning can actually be passed on to others in the field. And, obviously the entire system is learning how to essentially reduce entropy, which means reduce chaos and create more order and more of a simpler path to evolution, one that uses less energy. And essentially every experience that all of us go through will help the whole understand how to achieve a better outcome that uses less energy, if you will. So that's what they're saying, is that, even if like you in your individual life that you're going through right now, your individual incarnation, you might think of yourself as the name that you are, as the body that you're in, but you're not. You're something much greater than that. And so essentially, when you are going through experiences, that part of you that's much greater than the individual body that you're, the individual life that you're in right now, it knows that essentially every experience you go through is going to bring some return on investment, if you will, for helping the whole understand how to bring better upliftment and better unity and use less energy, essentially. So in order to achieve that state, the best way to do it is simply to follow your impulses in terms of sort of what brings you the happiest joy, follow your intuition, because that is essentially your higher self trying to communicate to you that which is actually going to bring you the greatest sort of learning and teaching for your evolution. And so there was a bit of information that came in here. Well, gee, a lot of stuff going on in the world. It seems like it wouldn't be in our best learning path. So why are we experiencing all the trauma going on around the world? Like he's saying, some of you might scratch your head and wonder how this can be so. And so what he says is that, is hard, probably as hard as it was for me to hear this. And I've heard him say this before, but as hard as it is to hear that, sometimes evil acts actually can bring the greatest transformation in society. So they offer the greatest service in the fact that humanity then has a choice. So in that moment, we can choose to allow that to continue to go on, or we have a choice of saying, you know what, we live in a world of polar opposite energies. There's evil, there's good, right? So there's all sorts of ranges of energies and frequencies in between. So by experiencing the one, we have the ability of saying, I don't want to do that. I'd rather do this over here. So we have the ability then to make a choice. And obviously the whole system, if you will, and I say the whole system, I mean like the whole sort of unified system of how everything operates is trying to move towards a path that essentially is more conservative, towards order and towards less energy consumption. And so that is one of unity and joy, and obviously symbiosis. So, obviously, while it's not fun going through and witnessing a lot of the stuff going on in the world, it continues to help everybody realize what we do want and not what we don't want. Um, and so I think the last thing that was actually quite interesting was the last few paragraphs that had to do with Gaia. Clearly there was a statement here that even she is working to increase her frequency, and by doing so, she's going to have to be dusting off old ways, old cobwebs. So that's basically how it came out. And essentially clearing energy. And um, the way that this came out, the idea of clearing energy came out with rumbling and shaking. So I have to assume that, it's earthquakes or, other things where energy is sort of coming out of Earth, perhaps volcanoes and stuff like that. So I know that we've seen increases in earthquakes going on, or at least there's been more tracking of it, right? So, who knows if that's going to increase in frequency. So he did say that, obviously this is going to create a lot of consternation among the population, but actually it's good for Earth to go through that because in the process of clearing her own energy, which almost be like all of us individually doing the inner work to kind of get rid of stagnant energy that no longer serves us, she's essentially doing the same thing. And by doing that, she becomes more of an expanded being as well. Um, and essentially, she said, Hilarion said that we're essentially the nerve endings for the planet, which is kind of interesting. So that's why there was a stress of the fact that we're essentially one being. I guess, nerves we would consider to be part of our physical being, right? So we're essentially the nerve endings of Gaia, and we're actually made of the same elements, so that makes sense. So we're kind of like of one energy, of one set of elemental beings. And so when she's going through the change, we're going to go through the change. When we go through the change, she goes through the change. They kind of all work together. And so what he says is that, for those who are very connected into the unified field, are going to feel those changes that Gaia is going through, and is going to feel, when she's working to clear energy. So oftentimes, if there's like a natural disaster, you'll see animals get this sort of intuitive, feeling that they need to move or they need to like migrate or something like that. And so he basically suggests that it would be very important for you to try and create that connection to Gaia. I'm sure there's lots of good reasons to create connection into the source field, but one would be because, when you do that, you essentially are, when you connect to the unified field, it's going to serve you as a human. In other words, it's going to help you have the signals of sort of when danger, I guess, might be in the area. So you be able to kind of like when you're going into a dark alley and let's say the hairs on your arm goes up because something doesn't quite feel right. It's sort of that feeling. So by doing this, you'll be opening yourself up to the field so you can get those signals in. And by doing that, you're going to help yourself as a human. But when you're doing that, you're actually helping the whole because you are now connecting into the unified field and you are serving other species, other beings, other consciousness through that process. And your learning then helps benefit the whole. So that's pretty much the message that was shared today. So kind of a little bit of bringing up old content, I think, but also sharing some new stuff around Gaia, which I thought was pretty interesting. We'll see what happens with Earth movements. Obviously it goes on, and I think as our solar system continues to migrate into this higher frequency area in the Milky Way, that's probably also it's helping to influence it as well. So we'll just have to continue to ride it out. So with that, I love you. I hope you have the best rest of your day and your evening wherever you are. And if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. And if you're kind of new to this and liked it, I encourage you to subscribe and kind of go back and look at some previous videos, especially in the beginning, because as I was learning about this, I was given a lot of content that almost like I was reading a textbook. So there's a lot of basic concepts around the quantum field, around polarity, around energies that I was taught, and taught in certain order so that the concepts could fundamentally build upon each other. So I would encourage you to go back and watch some of those. Thanks very much and have a great rest of your day. Bye.